I am so happy you're joining me today. I just came back from one of my many visits to Brazil, where I was born, where I lived, before I came here, the United States of America, in 1987. I am exhausted from traveling, carrying heavy suitcases. But this trip was incredible. It included 4 days of Carnival. 4 days of Carnival. It was sunny. It was summer. Carnival is my favorite holiday. People all over playing wonderful music, dancing, wearing stunning costumes, like the beautiful woman I saw yesterday on my way to the airport. Every year, for 4 days, everything stops in Brazil, and people embrace beauty, desire, fantasy, and hope for better days to come. Carnival is a welcome to all. It stretches social boundaries that outside Carnival would be a real drag. Yesterday was the last day of Carnival. I thought about the Christ the Redeemer in Rio de Janeiro, his welcoming arms inviting us to stop, pray, listen. Today, Ash Wednesday, we'll look upon the Christ, and from the ashes we'll bear his cross, a reminder of our mortality. Lent starts today. 40 days of fasting and abstinence. But fasting is hard for me to do. When I'm in Brazil, I eat way too much. Pounds of candies. I gain 10 pounds in my belly and come back home looking pregnant. Do I look pregnant to you? I hope you like the ribbon I got for you. Did you make a wish, huh? Since I was a child, I wanted to tell the story of my sister Marília. How did she die? What happened to my family after she died? What happened to my mother after the funeral? What happened to me? In Brazil, I visited her in the cemetery. Now, I wish to share with you what I found, my memories, my baggage. I'm so angry. No one was there to save her from that bus. Where were my mother, my sisters, everyone? I was 10 months old when Marília died. She wasn't even 3 years old. It's strange as an adult to think of my elder baby sister who died on the last day of Carnival, the day we call Fat Tuesday in the United States. Yesterday was the anniversary of her death. My mother tells me that the day Marília died, Marília took my mother's lipstick and she smeared it all over herself. She did the same to me and to our little pet rabbit. With Marília's encouragement, I kept pulling the rabbit by the ear over and over until it made funny faces. Very worried, Marília rushes to tell my mother, Mami, o Rogerinho tá matando seu gatinho. Little Rogério is killing your little cat. I don't remember any of it. I wasn't even 1 year old. My mother told me that later that day, Marília died. She was in a fatal accident involving the local bus that stopped right outside the apartment building where we lived. Often I asked her to tell me what happened, but she would tell me that was all I needed to know. That, and that Marília looked like an angel in her casket. I grew up conjuring up all sorts of images about an angel in a white box inside the earth. I was curious to know how the long wings could fit inside the little box, but I knew not to ask. Even today, I still have those images in my head, faint recollections of stories I heard about my sister, a never-ending puzzle, further complicated by my immigration to the United States. As an immigrant, all my possessions were some clothes, a few letters, some photographs, and the rosary. Sometimes I feel I can pack my entire life in a tiny little box, maybe a little bigger, like the one you're carrying now. Yes. Would you like to try? I have placed small objects in 3 of the stations. Station number 2, where I am, station number 12, and station number 22. When you get there, or if you are already there, please collect small objects that conjure up your own images. Perhaps someone you miss. You may choose to write a note to that person. Perhaps a note to yourself. Yes. At the end, you can keep your box for yourself, or you can leave it with me at the last station of the exhibit. This way, your box becomes a part of the realm of the dead. In a few moments, I'm going to ask you, with the help of the ushers, to unveil the sculptures I created to convey my life and the grief I felt for the loss of my sister. When you hear this bell, it is time for you to move from the station where you are to the next station, and to the next, and the next. Along the way, I will tell you the story of my life, and together we will assemble and complete this puzzle. Go ahead. You can begin to open your boxes. Go ahead. Freedom. It looks There is one more thing I know. Early the day Marília died, my mother asked the 2 of my older sisters to watch me and Marília while she went downtown to run some errands. Before she left, she told Marília, she promised Marília she would bring cookies when she came back. Later on, when the bus stopped in front of our building, Marília saw my mother, and she ran in front of the bus. Like many poor children, Marília died because a few cookies made a big difference. After the wake, my father cut a loaf of bread, 1 slice for himself, 1 for my mother, and 1 for each of us children. The slices were bigger now that Marília was dead. My mother mourned Marília in 1966, and then my father in 1973. She didn't remarry because she didn't want any other man raising her kids. She worked all day in a grammar school, cooking for the kids, cleaning, 2 hours away from home. And then she came back home to clean and cook for us, her own kids. My mother was like a bull to me, big, beautiful, grounded, loyal, and tender. In retirement, she painted the picture of a bull for me. I think of it as her self-portrait. Marília was the youngest of my 5 sisters. I also have 2 brothers, but I'm the youngest of them all. I am the baby. By the age of 3, I sounded just like Marília. I smelled like her too. They even dressed me up in Marília's clothes. It was really hard to tell us apart. My mother was embarrassed that her boy was so much like a girl, and ashamed for wanting me to replace her dead daughter. Throughout my childhood, my mother asked a few doctors, "Why is he so much like his sisters? Why are his friends all girls? Why is he feisty yet so sensitive? Is he normal, my son?" Growing up, the same boys who mocked me also chased me around and treated me like a girl. In public, they taunted me. In private, they seduced me into doing things for them. I was particularly confused and scared when adult men asked me, "Are you a boy or a girl?" I had so many questions about how my dead sister figured in my gender identity. With the exception of Marília, every year in May, all my sisters participated in the Catholic pageant, the coronation of the Virgin Mary. Only girls were allowed. From the church floor, I watched the angels flowing in church and singing, "Mês de maio, mês da alegria, cantemos louvores a Virgem Maria." After the pageant, the angels received little bags filled with candies. But according to the authorities, I wasn't a real girl. So all I could do was dream of lollipops, chocolate, jelly beans, all the candy we would never have. I wasn't a real girl. And Marília was dead. Even today, more than 50 years later, I still ask myself, did she see the tires before she closed her eyes? Did she feel the weight of the bus? Did she feel any pain? Does anyone know? The brain controls everything we do, everything we feel. Brain cells allow us to feel love, pleasure, and pain. Those miraculous cells are the caretakers and the wardens of all our feelings and memories. I often wonder, how would Marília look today? What type of hair would she have? As a child, I looked at her photograph on her grave. I felt that my boy's body looked just like hers. I even felt her inside me as though we were one and the same. I suffered not from multiple personality disorder. I simply longed for her so desperately. Before my mother passed away, in one of my many visits to Brazil, we talked about how I felt when I first came to the United States in 1987, long before I moved to Ann Arbor. I explained to her how I still hated the memory and the fierce loneliness I felt as a recently arrived immigrant in a big city like New York. I don't know how, but I ended up revealing to her how I had imagined Marília all these years. An angel, cold and lonely, deep in the earth. My mother listened, and then she showed me a letter she had received from the public cemetery where Marília had been buried. The letter my mother received explained to us that heavy rains had destroyed all the graves in the children's section of the cemetery where Marília was buried. They told us that we had to move her remains to a safer place. So my mother and I went to the cemetery to unbury her. There, the grave digger swung his pick. The pick hit the ground opened. There we were, inside the Brazilian earth. The pick pierced the ground over and over. Those first few moments felt like an eternity, waiting to see her, my sister. Suddenly, from down below, I heard the sound of metal against metal. The pick hit the handle of her coffin. I looked at my mother. She looked back. Is this the handle of her coffin? I heard not a sound from her. Dirt piled all around us. I began to dig using my bare hands, looking for anything I could find. Deep in the pile, I found pieces of fabric. Could this be from the lining of her coffin? My mother nodded, yes. I kept searching deeper in the pile. I found her little sock. And deeper still, I found what appeared to be bones. Look, Loda, this must be her bones, Marília's little bones. And then, as if by a miracle, I found a lock of hair. And then another. Oh my God, my baby sister's hair. So pretty. So soft. Good hair. Loda, there is nothing here. No flesh. There is no more Marília. Loda. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, my love. Witnessing my mother's dismay, I asked the grave digger, "Where is my sister?" By the time I was a teenager, I already believed that straight hair was good and curly hair was bad, and mine was bad. I felt doomed. So I made my head straight. I was so happy, but my mother was furious. "Você ficou parecendo uma puta." My long, straight hair made me look like a whore, my mother said. So often I felt like one from the moment my father first touched me. As a child, I thought that what made a girl was having a pussy, like all my sisters had. If I had a pussy, I'd be just like Marília, right? But though I didn't have a pussy, I knew I was a girl. Did my father know? The way he looked at me showed special interest in me. My father touched me intimately. He was a man, so I must be a girl. I was 7 when my father died. If I had been a real girl, would he have stayed? Could I have made him happy? Could my sisters have made him happy? He touched me. He touched my sisters. He molested all of us. We all avoid thinking that my mother might have known what my father was doing, yet she did nothing. Under the Brazilian dictatorship of 1964 to 1985, lack of privacy was commonplace. The police often raided the building where we lived for no apparent reason. I was terrified of them. 10 of us lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in the housing project with that little pet rabbit. I shared a bed with 2 of my sisters. When my father died, I slept in the same bed with my mother to be close by in case she died. Dorme, nenê, mamãe tem que fazer, tem roupa pra lavar e costura pra cozer. In the 1980s, when I was in college, there was no LGBT liberation in Brazil, not yet. No possibility of a gender nonconforming identity such as the one I carry today. I so wanted to get out of Brazil. Being gender nonconforming, I feared I'd be killed by bigots or the military police. Voices I still hear today echoed inside my head. Bichinha, mulherzinha, viado. Sissy, little girl, faggot. These voices were meant to drown me. I came to New York City in 1987 after I received my degree in biological science. There, I wanted to be a hairdresser, but I didn't speak English, I didn't have a cosmetology license, and for nearly a decade, I was an illegal alien, a threat for the United States of America. So I took many different jobs. As a dishwasher, I worked 8 hours a day, 7 days per week for $200. It was interesting. Delivering pizza, believe it or not, I fell off my bike in the busy streets of Manhattan in the middle of a rainstorm. Working in construction, surprisingly, I did well. Painting, patching things, butch stuff. But one of the construction workers attacked me. He called me faggot, and he smeared patching compound all over my face. My eyes, I couldn't see a thing. I didn't complain. Poor immigrants die at the border, shot or of heat stroke, suffocated in shipping containers. Knowing all that, we take all sorts of shit just to keep any job we can get. I feel old and fat. Growing up, I was skinny. Many times a day, I opened the refrigerator hoping to find food. I found nothing. I dreamed of finding candies, delicious candies, lots of candies. Now that I can buy all the candy I want, I worry about my weight. Do I look fat? Does it even matter knowing where we are all going to end up? Coming back from Brazil yesterday, I could still hear the faint carnival music coming out of the streets of Rio de Janeiro. At the airport, they weighed my suitcases. I weighed my emotional baggage. All the things my mother and sisters gave me over the years. Time, love, encouragement. I felt the weight of pink lipstick, hair products, mirrors reflecting our faces. Without my mother and all my sisters, I would not be here today. I am at once, each and all of them. Before I flew out of Brazil, my sister Millie gave me this rosary. This morning, as the plane was landing, images of Marília took over my mind. Holding my rosary, I contemplated the miracle of Jesus' resurrection, his welcoming my sister to life everlasting, the Holy Spirit descending upon Marília, my sister's ascension to heaven. I felt the ribbon around my wrist. So many wishes fulfilled, so many yet to come. Marília's epitaph said, "Fui para Deus e voltarei na memória de meus pais e meus irmãos. I went to God and I'll be back in the memory of my parents and siblings. I've waited for her all this time, even though she's been here all along. My dead sister lives on inside me. Have you seen her? I cling to her. She clings back. Can you see her? She clings to me. I cling back. My sweet sister, Marília, where did you go, leaving me here so lonely, a boy without you? I went to school, learned about the earth, the turns it takes. There, you disappeared. You left me here without direction to follow you. How? Where are you? Have you left? I never let you. Held you closely, made my chest cry. My most darling, I will forever miss you, but you stay no longer. I'm letting you go. You deserve to rest, sweet sister. Marília, Marília, go. Go to heaven, on earth no more.